That's the key ingredient.
And you feel comfortable with this, Michael?
Yeah.
Mike,
Mike, I'm sorry.
Mike.
If you guys, before we started the call, did you guys, convene the meeting?
No, we just did just now.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. That's good.
It's official.
I'll just give you just a little bit of background about myself. I've been in practice now for approximately 18 years. I've been at the same law firm the entire time. I started there my third year of law school at Hogan and Rossi in Brewster, New York. We primarily, as a practice, were real estate and land use / development lawyers. But each of us in our respective careers have served as town attorneys at various different points. And since 2012, we've had very consistent roles as town attorney or town council for Patterson, Pauling, Kent, and Dover. I started actually in Dover, I think in about 2008. And I was briefly the village of Cold Spring village attorney for about 16 months in 2015. I worked under Ralph Falloon, enjoyed myself very much, but the politics became a little bit overwhelming. There was a lot going on with Butterfield, and I found myself feeling like I had increasing personal liability every time I would show up.
Well, I was going to commend you for even staying there for 16 months. The politics are ugly.
They're not wildly improved.
No. And, it's a beautiful place. So of all the places that I work, it's the place I actually love to go to. And I mean it sincerely. It's the most beautiful part of the county by a mile.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really became unpleasant. So, after the fourth night in a row or fourth meeting in a row of talking about garbage cans and street trees, I just hung up the white flag and said, I'm done. But I've been representing Brewster Southeast Joint Fire District since 2007. I've been working for Croton Falls Fire District. Shortly thereafter, I started representing Croton Falls. And then I came into Newcastle Fire District as their counsel.
I just lost.
Lost me?
We lost your signal.
But just a little bit. We lost a few sentences.
Okay, gotcha. I was just saying I started working in Croton Falls in around 2010 as their counsel, and then in Newcastle in 2016. They brought me in because they were having a very significant labor issues between volunteer firefighters and the commissioners, and firefighter issues, which we were, hoping to stave off a civil rights litigation, and we were able to do that. So I'm familiar with the various sections of town law that apply to fire districts, as well as the 16 other different aspects of laws that apply. The firm is made up of 9 attorneys and 5 staff members. We litigate. We have labor counsel, contract counsel. So we if it isn't me that handles something, there is typically someone in the office who can. So we don't really have to go out too far. And, as I said to you on the phone, and Linda, I'm not here to step on Mark Butler's toes. I kind of view myself, when there's another attorney involved, as just local counsel. If Mark doesn't pick up the phone, you want to call me, that's perfectly okay. Or it's just as needed when needed. That's a perfectly fine relationship with me. We just bill as I go. And I typically just try to do my best to identify if we're going to be on a task basis, how much time would typically be involved, so you guys could budget accordingly.
Okay, we, at this point, I think we have to name an attorney. So it will be either or and. So we may, we might choose you as our primary attorney and Mark as a backup.
Yeah, that's totally up to you how you do that.
Yes, so that would be it. Our big thing in the future, I think, is we're probably going to be selling and buying some equipment. And
Okay,
we haven't done that, so we'd need to be helped through that. That's
no
where we
problem.
need your expertise.
Yeah, so just a simple rule of thumb, 0 to 20,000, you could just do by resolution. Between 20,000 and 100,000, you have to do a permissive referendum, which is a resolution with a notice that gets published in the newspaper. And anything over 100,000, you have to do a referendum, which is an election.
Okay.
We've done permissive referendums before. I've drafted them.
Yeah.
Kristen's a real expert on that stuff, Mike.
I don't know
Great,
about that.
great.
But
The
This
real
is a-
issue is when
This is on
Sorry.
selling the equipment.
that's on selling. Yeah, that's the easy part.
Yeah,
So
done
the-
that yet.
the buying, is depending on what you're borrowing. If you're doing a lease to own, it's just like you're buying. Unless you have the funds already in a dedicated reserve, specific reserve fund, you're going to go out to vote.
Yeah.
And we can get into the details of that.
So Mike, or Linda, can I ask Mike a couple of questions?
Please.
I did, Mike, and thank you for your giving me a reference, someone to talk to in both of your fire districts, which I did, and I've reported those to Kristen, so she has the names. I spoke to Jerry and Angelo.
Angela, yep.
And they both speak very highly of you. They do say you get busy sometimes.
I do.
And that
Yep.
you need to be leaned on. I think that's my term, not theirs, but that you need, that we need to go find you. But I don't think we're shy. Linda, for sure, is not shy about, leaning on you if we need a response within a time. So we can find you, right?
Yeah. So,
Sure.
let's just say I've never missed a deadline. And if we have to talk at 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, sometimes it gets a little crazy. And here's a perfect situation. The volume of transactional work in the office has picked up so significantly that it's caused a little bit of a delay on some of the other stuff that I have going on. And so what we've done is I don't have Jamie on the call, but my associate Jamie is also very competent, is also a municipal lawyer. But here's a perfect example. Half my office is quarantined due to COVID. We got 2 people with COVID. And this is the 3rd time in 3 months we've had half the office quarantined.
Oh my God.
So it isn't just client work that makes it sometimes hard to get a hold of me. It's really just we've had some really ridiculous things go on. But like I said, we've never missed a deadline for anything. I try to make myself available after business hours so that all the phone calls get returned. But I definitely put it out there that if you reach out and say, hey, look, I need you to call me today, I will absolutely call you today.
Yeah. So you know what, Mike? I know Jamie somehow from. She's a member. In fact, I think she has an official role at what's called the Putnam County Estate Planning Council.
Yes.
And I am a member of that, although that's a group that hasn't met recently. But I've come to know Jamie a little bit from there. So I've got a head start with her. She couldn't be nicer, and strikes me as pretty responsive. So.
Yeah, she is. She definitely is. Yeah.
So Linda, what's happened to Sandy and
They were, I don't know if they
Got the
forgot.
message.
Sandy, I talked to her yesterday, I think. I thought she was going to sign in. And David, who knows, his internet might be out again. It often is, but
Well, David,
he's-
David's the one who actually put us onto you because he observed you serving well in connection with the Phillipstown Ambulance Corps. He spotted you on it. You know, Dave really doesn't have much of a life. You know, he works all day at the warehouse, and then he watches the town board meeting at night. So it's
oh no, he was a town board member a few years ago.
I know.
He
I'm
pays attention, but he was
overplaying playing it, but he did spot you and thought you were great and called Linda's attention to you, and so there you go. He knows you. Sandy, it would be important for her to get a view with Mike. I'm sorry she's not on.
Well,
Yeah, no, it's not a problem.
she
And
had the opportunity.
yeah,
Of course, Linda, you're right. You're doing everything. I don't have anything else.
I have a question, Mike. With
Sure.
dealing with Mark Butler, like our meeting minutes, he specifically asked for a copy of them after they're voted on and ratified, and he wants to review them because sometimes there are questions or something that wasn't procedurally 100% correct. Do you review your fire district's meeting notes, or is that not something you traditionally do, or how do you run your?
Honestly, I typically don't. Brewster Southeast Joint Fire District has me attend every meeting, which is a little bit unusual for a fire district, but you know, they're running about 2,500 calls a year with ambulance included, and you know, their budget's about 2.5, I think. So their budget's a lot more robust, but they also have a lot more going on. And because they don't pay a full-time secretary, they rely on me a little bit more than a normal Putnam County Fire District would. Croton Falls, I don't go to any of their meetings and I don't review their minutes. Angelo D'Agostino is the liaison. Angelo is a very, very savvy 40-year IBM executive. And literally only calls me when he can't figure it out for himself. So, I really don't interject myself too much. So no, I honestly, I wouldn't ask you. If the relationship is, hey, you call me when you need me, then that's how it's going to be. But I would say if you're going to do, you know, enter into a significant contract or buy and sell equipment, we just want to make sure that we are following the appropriate steps so that when you're audited, you guys aren't getting dinged in an audit. And and I like to work closely with the with your auditor. So if you have an accounting firm that you work with that does your audit, then you know, it's as easy as just keeping in whoever's assigned to you, just keeping them in the loop. And I find that's easy enough to keep you know, a fire district without making easy mistakes or simple mistakes.
Like we've drafted our own progressive referendums because we have some now, and I have a template to follow, and we've made it
great
enough. Like Jim will look at it, pass off, and he'd be like, "Yeah, that looks like the other ones." But obviously, you'd review things if need be. But you're not so, because Butler's like, really, if I don't send the minutes, I hear from him about getting minutes. When we have election time or budget time, there's a timeline he sends out.
I already did that, so we're good.
We've done our own. I just wasn't sure what you did with your other districts.
Yeah, no, he's, you know, so Mark Butler, Tim Hannigan, Pinsky, those guys this is their world, right? It's their business, and they literally calendar everything to facilitate what they do. Frankly, I'll be honest with everybody. I don't have the time to be that involved in your day to day. It's just not, for me, it's just not realistic. But I will tell you, if I see something wrong, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
I
have a legal document reviewed before we go ahead and publish, like that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
You would do that for us. That's why you'd be there for us, because we're new at a lot of this stuff. We've only been in district since 2017.
Oh, okay. So you're very new.
Yeah, I mean, the company's been around a long time, but the district is newer. And Jim our treasurer has been around in districts and companies for a long time, so we rely on him a lot. But we also very much need an attorney, of course.
Yeah. Oh, so you know what, and again, I think I said to Linda and Nat on the phone, I'm not here to second guess what Mark does and some of the other firms that are dedicated, but I will tell you that if you guys are in a learning curve, then that function performed by Mark it's very useful, because you will get an education by him doing that. It's just that you're paying for it. You're going to pay for it. That's a cost that it's an appropriate public cost until you guys are so well versed that you feel like, you can cut the cord.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Is the answer, Mike? I think we've learned a lot. So there we go. I think we're at an interesting point now where maybe we can do things a little differently. Yeah.
And that's great. And that's great. And look, look, you call up and say, this is what's going on, or you shoot an email over and this is what, what's on the agenda. We're supposed to take some legal steps and we can map that out for you as months by months go by.
Terrific. Well, we won't, unless anybody has any questions, I don't want to take up any more of your time. And we're going to have a short meeting after this and talk about a few things. And one of us, probably me, will email you with what we're doing forward. And thank you very much for all the time you've given us so far. And we hope to work with you in the future.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. No matter what you do, and I tell everybody this, regardless of whether it's me or Mark or both, I'm a phone call away, and I'm a neighbor. I don't live in Putnam County anymore, but it's my home. It's where my business is. So regardless, whatever happens, feel free, pick up the phone. I'm always happy to help.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Mike, how do you
guys?
I'd like to hear you.
You're welcome.
How do you pronounce your last name properly?
Oh, it's Ligori.
That's a G. Is that a G sound?
Yeah. The U is silent.
Okay.
Oh,
So like the runner, wasn't there a runner called Marty Laquari?
Marty Ligori. Yep. He went to Iona.
Oh, but it was
not related.
But it was spelled the same way, right?
Spelled the same way. Yep.
Didn't he just get in a lot of trouble?
Thanks, Mike.
thank you.
Oh, I don't know. Good night, guys. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Fred, are you coming in?
I've been in. I've been on mute. That's all.
I know. I realized I wanted to get your opinions.
So my novice opinion, being one of the newest commissioners, you're right. You're a young district and you had a lot of questions early on and there's a lot of legal processes that you have to weave through. But you got a battle rhythm going on. You've done it for about 5 years in a row. Some of the things that are more routine right now, you don't even need an attorney to look over your shoulders. To be honest with you, I would imagine the only reason Mark Butler is reviewing the minutes is in case he sees anything glaring, but yet that's a cost, right? So there's a cost factor in it.
Loves to charge us.
So, right.
And he reviews them because he'll ask me questions about them sometimes. I know he actually
Very
reads.
thorough. I mean, he earns his money, but he makes work for himself.
Right, but I would imagine there's routine things that we can handle on our own, and Kristen's got a good handle on the legalese now of getting the minutes in and certain things that are being done. If there's a question and you want to use Mark Ligori as a local attorney to run things by that aren't fire district specific, and he can get you through it at a lower cost and not looking to milk the system of using all the money that we have in what is it, the not the reserves,
Budget for it.
well, I mean, you
Legal
give 'em,
line.
don't you have to give them
A retainer.
a retainer? That's the word.
That's
Retainer.
one of the ways Butler does business. He will do business on a as needed, necessary basis, but he already charges a lot, even under a retainer. When it comes to just asking him no retainer, making requests, pay as you go, he's way up there.
So
Right.
so the cost structure is for Michael is $250 an hour. The cost structure for Butler with a $3,000 retainer, which doesn't really matter,
$5,000
but
retainer.
is 375,
75.
and without a retainer, it's 450. So if I was going to make a suggestion, I would go with the new guy, give it a try, ask Butler for our retainer back, but say we're going with local counsel. However, we'd like to reserve the right to hire you on an hourly basis. You
Yeah,
think he'd be open to that?
I think so. This is Jim Pasquale.
Why not?
I think so too.
Well, you think so or no?
Jim's think.
I think he would be.
Okay, great.
So
You know, as long as and again, I go back to Butler did such a huge job for those requests for bid proposals.
Mm.
I mean, everybody said it was so over the top and it made so much work for everybody. And if this guy has experience in that and we can streamline it a little bit, works for me.
Right. So my impression is that he's looking to get the job done as needed, but he's not looking to hold your hand and milk all the money out of the reserves and things of that nature. So
We've never used Mark Butler that way, at least not since I've been on the board. Maybe in the beginning when there were so many questions, but for the last 3 or 4 years, you know, we try not to call him.
right. And if you have things that are cyclical that you already know, like you went into the town law and you basically created a calendar of things that have to happen. We don't need him to be redundant to send that out to you and charge you $400 just for a calendar item.
Exactly.
You know, so yeah.
And we have Jim who acts a lot of times as our legal proxy because he's been around the block.
Right.
I'm in support.
I vote we hire him as, you know,
I'd like to, but you know,
engagement letter of sorts.
you know, here's a suggestion, Linda. You know, Sandy somehow or another is indicating a, you know, that she
A
has
reticence.
would say.
A reticence.
Well, I think she's just, you know, she's gotten used to Butler, and so I don't know. Do we need to talk to her, or do we need to give her an opportunity to talk to Mike herself, or do we just say, okay, we had 3 of us and we voted?
She had every opportunity to be here. She certainly can call him, but I don't. And she's talked to people at Phillipstown Ambulance, or she told me she was going to, and where he's been well received and well presented. So
Good.
we're not losing
Let's
Butler.
go ahead. Let's go ahead.
My opinion is we're not losing Butler. He's still there.
Yes, exactly. And if we need to get him on an hourly basis, you know, we'll pay him his fee.
Yeah. So
I'm
I mean,
I'm for it.
okay.
Who wants to motion it? Let's go.
I make a motion that we engage, I guess is the word, Michael Laguari,
Or like
Lagori. Michael Lagori as our district attorney.
I second it.
Fred,
Oh, I'll vote yay.
Okay.
Yes.
do you want to make in this motion that as a backup, as a secondary, we will use Mark Butler?
Sure.
So that
Yes.
it's in the minutes that we're using both and they're approved by the commissioners?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Did we do that?
Motion
Yeah,
to.
yeah. I mean, that's actually a pretty smart way to do it. You know, there are some things we were going to need to go to Butler on, and some things that we want to do locally, and we're going to do away with the notion of a retainer. We don't think we need it.
Yeah. So I'll make that motion to have Mark be waiting in the wings.
As needed, I'll add him as needed to
You
our,
know what? You probably don't even have to make a, you know, you don't have to say, we got local counsel.
Yeah,
and
I mean, we just have to name an attorney.
okay, so then we don't have
And
to.
if we're naming an attorney, that's going to be Mike,
Can
right?
use any attorney after that, I would suspect.
Think, but I don't know legally exactly.
I would name,
I would prefer to be able to retain Mark Butler without any prior approval if we could.
you can make, this is Jim Pasquale. You can make the motion, appoint Mike and Mark Butler as the attorneys for the district as needed.
Okay.
Oh, both as needed, and list both names.
Yeah. So that'll
Good.
be that motion.
I'm going to excuse myself 1 minute. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay,
And before we move on,
yep. All right, well, we're ready to move on, but you.
okay, 30 seconds,
You want
30
me to call
seconds.
David and see where the hell he is? Or Sandy?
I thought Sandy knew. She told you Tuesday was okay.
She did. And I double checked with her because she was so
You told
concerned
me.
about this.
Right.
If he answers. I haven't heard from David all week. That's rare.
Yeah.
I mean, he always calls me. David, you okay? We're on a Zoom call. We just interviewed the attorney. I know. It's okay. If you want to join us, we're going to talk about auditors. It's up to you. No, you're done. Okay.
Sorry.
Linda's calling Dave.
We're amusing our YouTube viewers.
Okay, so it's 8. All right, great. Perfect. I'll let them all know. Okay. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, bye. Okay. He's fine being left out of this loop. But he is paying RBT their final $2,000.
Okay.
So that check was written today. Okay, Nat.
Well, I think we, now that we've paid RBT remarkably better together, I think we should consider for our new audit, for our, I guess would be the 2020 audit, that we consider engaging the services of a firm called PKF O'Connor Davies. They have submitted us a proposal. It's in your email. And it's more expensive than RBT. It's actually the same
2,000
number they gave us. We interviewed O'Connor Davies the first time around, along with a couple of other firms. And we were in a cheap mode at that point, and we didn't know any better. And we went with the cheap one. And as often happens when you hire the cheap one, you don't get very good service.
No, I am not unhappy with RBT. I mean, I've talked to the auditors. They're familiar with our system. Some of their lateness doesn't have anything to do with themselves.
Well, okay.
But that's just my opinion.
Let me continue about O'Connor Davies and their presence in our world, because they're all over the place. They do the now again, this may not be a reason to hire them, but they are the auditor for the town of Phillipstown. They are the auditor for several of our cultural. There's several institutions that I'm associated with where they are the auditors, and of course each one of the partners of the firm have their own specialty, and we would fall into the government silo as opposed to the nonprofit silo, or the but Jim Paskoff has quite a lot of experience with O'Connor Davies, and I think having a good relationship between our treasurer and the auditing firm is really important. And I don't think Jim has the relationship with the RBT people that he should have. Or now maybe that's falls on both sides. But
Jim, you want to address that?
I think
I think
the relationship with both firms is about the same. The only concern that I have with RBT right now is that they got the mortgage on the firehouse wrong on the financial statement, and they should have gotten that information when they first started doing the audit in 2017, and they didn't get it, and it was only because Stan knew something last year that we realized that they had one more year on the mortgage than was supposed to be there. It was only in the footnotes. It didn't affect the financial numbers in the financial statement, but it was in the footnotes. And I thought they should have had the information. They didn't ask the question. They didn't ask to see the document, and they should have asked to see the document from the host company when they originally started the audit. And of course, once the first year goes by, it just continues that way. And I think I just am concerned about that fact. O'Connor Davies is going to do the same kind of audit that RBT did. It's just going to be done out of Westchester versus Newburgh.
Jim, hold on a minute. Westchester doesn't O'Connor Davies have a Newburgh office?
Yeah, but the municipal stuff is done out of the Westchester office.
Okay, but you've worked with them on a couple of your districts have O'Connor Davies, right?
The O'Connor Davies does the audit for the Arlington Fire District.
That's it.
In Poughkeepsie, yes.
Okay, for you.
And RBT does the rest of them.
Linda, I don't feel strong. I don't feel overly, I'm not trying to make a case that I feel really strongly about it, but it would be nice to have a good relationship between our auditor and our treasurer.
But he does. He just said he had the same.
I have a reasonable relationship with both of them. I just don't. I think that the girl that does Garrison is very weak, whereas I think the ones from O'Connor Davies are, if they're the same people that are doing Arlington, they're much stronger.
Okay, and what would be the learning curve for O'Connor Davies? How much time are me going to be invested in it?
The only time that you should be invested in it is the time that they're at the firehouse to look at documents. And the way things are now, they may not ever show up at the firehouse. I mean, they have to go there to make sure that it's a real life place. One of the things that we do as auditors is we make sure the client is real and it's not a front for something. So that they might come at one point in time. They may come just to get documents, but if they can do it remotely, they're probably going to do it as much of it remotely as they possibly can. And all the firms are doing that now.
Okay. Well,
and that's because of COVID. And I don't know what's going to happen after COVID because the auditors have found that this is very efficient for them.
I can imagine that. My question would be for you, Jim. Diana gets paid a very small salary, and she had a lot of interaction with the auditors last time. I would prefer it would be mostly you.
I think O'Connor Davies is more willing to use my work papers.
Okay.
Than they are doing their. They prefer to do it all themselves, and
I don't know what that means.
They want to use the QuickBooks. O'Connor Davies is more than willing to use my spreadsheets to provide the financial statements, and with the fire districts
through the records. I mean, the auditor last year had 2 pages worth of questions.
Yeah, that's not unusual.
Okay, but are you willing to walk them through it?
Yes.
You might have to go into the files. Hopefully Diana to do it.
Maybe I'll be if they will give me a listing, I can go down and get the files, and if I can't find them, Diana can tell me where they are.
Okay, all right. Well, Nat, I don't feel necessary to change, but I don't really care. If we're going to save 2,000 with the attorney, we're a net zero. But do I think we have to change? No.
Okay, let me just come back. Yeah, I got your feeling, and and it may not be enough to make a change. I've been frustrated, as have you, by the lateness of our audit, and I see that as being a result of a partnership that isn't humming on all cylinders. And my sense is that it would be that relationship would be better in O'Connor Davies. I don't quite know why I say that, other than I think they're just a higher quality. I mean, when we interviewed the first time around, we wanted to hire O'Connor Davies, but we didn't, because we felt like we should save the district the 2,000 and go with RBT. We should have recognized. I mean, RBT is a patching together of three firms, and my sense is that they've never really, I don't know this for sure, but my sense is that it's never really been a harmonious situation. I do know the O'Connor Davies firm from work they've done for other institutions that I'm associated with, and it's not only good, it's also very helpful, because if in fact something is out of line, a policy, you should do it this way next year kind of thing. I mean,
Oh, well, that's good.
They're a helpful group. I think I think for that extra $2,000, we'd get a more timely and a more harmonious and we'd get a higher level of service. I do. I think the O'Connor Davies people that I've met are, even the field work people are really high quality. And in my interactions with the RBT before, Linda, you were willing to, well, you weren't even around to do it in the first couple of years. I mean, I spent a lot of time with them, and I was just never impressed with the questions they asked and their professionalism. Just didn't. I think we would be stepping up our level of professionalism in the accounting and auditing area.
And I know this is going to sound horrible, but why is that so important? I mean, they're all looking at the same thing, comparing it to the same thing. Jim Pasikoff, we haven't had a problem with the state coming in. I mean, would we have a problem if the state came in and looked at our audits?
No, I don't think so. If the state comes in, they're going to complain about how the gas is purchased on a credit card, but they do that on everybody.
Okay.
They'll complain about the computer system because they do that on everybody. That's low-hanging fruit that they can grab on. You're buying stuff. The reality of life is you're buying equipment correctly. You're buying services correctly. You're paying the bills correctly. What else is there?
Okay.
You're reviewing bank statements. You're reviewing bank recs. The key things that you need to do, you're doing. So all a state audit is going to be is a nuisance.
Okay, so my point for that, Nat, is, I understand it's a better quality, but do we need a better quality?
Well,
I'll vote yes if that's the majority. I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
My concern, as I said before, was the fact that they got that mortgage footnote wrong.
Right.
And to me, that's pretty serious stuff.
And there was no more.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just a little fussy about, Linda, to me, having the comfort of a really good accounting firm that can help us sort of be a better outfit, it strikes me as a good thing to have, although not
financial guy. I'll go with what you want.
What's that?
You're the financial guy, not me.
Well, I would, if it was me, I'd go for O'Connor Davies, because I just think it's higher quality firm, and I don't think that the $10,000 expenditure is out of line with fees that get paid for auditing. I've in all the institute. I mean, I've seen the Glenwood books, I've seen the Stonecrop books, I've seen the Shakespeare books, I've seen, I know what we pay. 10 grand would be a pretty reasonable price, and it's unchanged from what they quoted us 5 years ago.
True.
And I think they like our business is the answer. And they're a force here in Phillipstown. They do the Depot Theater, they do the Shakespeare, they do the town. I think they got a reputation to preserve, and I think we can leverage that into a useful association.
Okay, Fred, want to weigh in?
I got to come off mute. So I wasn't around for the past audits. I don't know what we went through. Obviously, we're in compliance. If this O'Connor Davis group is a better second look, I mean, if let me go back. If RBT has done it over the past couple of years and missed a couple of things, even though everything was filed with the state and everything, a bona fide audit, having a fresh pair of eyes. On a different accounting firm that has proven itself valuable in other areas of Phillipstown and some of the things that they've done. Everything being equal with Jim Patrickov, where he could work with both of them. We certainly don't want more of a heavy lift for you, Linda, to do extra work. So if Jim's willing to
deal with the audit, I just am the intermediary, but there was a lot of intermediarying.
Well, the thing, whether they came to the firehouse to get records or whether you have to provide them stuff electronically, it's still a heavy lift. But I mean, if the things are already there, accessible between, the treasurer and the accountant, bookkeeper that can get those things and obtain them, Now, my question was, this O'Connor Davis group, so we'd be spending $2,000 more than we spent with RBT. Is that the difference in price?
Yes.
Okay. But still, it is. But
that's a quarter more.
And I guess the other question would be, granted, COVID's thrown a monkey wrench into a lot of things with timelines, but even with RBT, with paying less money, we've missed some deadlines where we had to file for extensions or something wasn't happening.
The deadlines are mostly on me. They're not on O'Connor, on RBT. They're on me. And so of course it starts going out, and then they want more information, and it always seemed to take a week to 2 weeks to get all the additional information that they wanted.
Right. Okay.
That's going to be the case with any auditor, most likely.
So Jim,
right.
Let me back and ask you one more time. Do you notice a decided difference in quality between the firms, or am I just perceiving something that doesn't need to be the case?
I think O'Connor Davies does a better job than RBT. RBT isn't. O'Connor Davies has a better perspective of what they're supposed to be looking at. RBT is, to me, is just throwing a financial statement together, and they don't really care about how they get there.
Well, that strikes me as enough. I've heard enough on that front. That would argue for me to make sure that we had O'Connor Davies.
I guess one of the questions I have is, call it like a return on investment. So you have this O'Connor Davies that's going to charge us a little bit more than we're used to, but we might be getting a better product out of it. Granted, it meets all the auditing guidelines, I would imagine, and for the state. But they may discover something that we never knew before with their attention to detail, and maybe we're just going to get a better product, but we're going to pay a little bit more for it. So
we're going to get in other words, it's a second look too.
Right.
I can get you a guy to do the audit for $4,000, and he'll get his report will be just as pretty as O'Connor Davies or RBT's report. But do you really have any confidence that he got what he was supposed to get? Both of those firms will at least do the continuing education that they're required to do.
Oh, okay.
This other guy won't do it. I think that the O'Connor Davies gets a little better continuing education than RBT does, simply because they're bigger and they can get better speakers and do more things. And they see bigger clients than RBT does. And that can trickle down to the smaller clients. And we're a tiny little company. Garrison Fire District is a tiny little company. Mm-hmm. So I think that they're better. I think you would be better off with O'Connor Davies, but you're not going to see. It's going to be very intangible, the difference of what the additional value is to you.
You know, they once were the company's auditors too. Now the company doesn't need, I think, under its new configuration, doesn't need
Their revenue isn't high enough that they need an audit. No.
But they were very. I think the company. I mean, you know, they were changing auditors every year or two, as I recall, in the days of what's he called, Fred? I can't remember his name now. The mortgage banker.
Oh, John Seversky, maybe?
Seversky was changing auditors every year or two, and I don't think anybody was particularly satisfactory. O'Connor Davies came in and brought some consistency to it. Linda, you're right. If we're really taxpayer oriented, we don't need to spend 2,000 more. I just think we're going to get a payback on it, and I think it may be.
I'm okay with it because, like I said, we're evening the books up between lawyers and.
Well, and meantime, Linda, I should tell you that it looks to me like the insurance has come in a good bit under budget too. So I think we've got the room. It's a step towards. You know, we're bringing local counsel because we think that makes more sense. You know, I think I would have wanted O'Connor Davies from the very beginning, but I got talked out of it because of. But I don't think our experience with RBT has been very satisfactory. I just don't, and maybe that's our fault or portion our fault. But I think the relationship would work better with O'Connor Davies. I do. I think we're going to be on time, and we might even get a couple of suggestions about how we could do things better in the future. So I'm not going to go to war on this, but I would vote pretty strongly for O'Connor Davies.
Fred?
Yeah, so basically, you know, I wasn't here. I don't have the history, but just listening to the differences. Am I on mute still?
No, you're here.
Okay, sorry. I'm willing to vote for the O'Connor Davies, even though it's a little bit more, but it's a fresh pair of eyes, and it may be a little bit of return on investment. And if things work out great, you know, we made a wise choice. If we find out next year that this was a bad move, you know, we'll reconsider next year. You know, if it's worth continuing with O'Connor Davies or going to RBT or a different auditor. But you know, maybe at this point in time, it's a little bit upping our game, but maybe hopefully a return on the additional investment of $2,000 as compared to what RBT was charging. So I would say that we can give it a try.
All right, so Nat, motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we engage the firm of O'Connor Davies to perform auditing services for the year 2020 at a fee of $10,000.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Hold on for a second before you vote. You know, we're supposed to do this in 5-year increments. So do we want to have O'Connor Davies do the proposal for 5 years so that we don't have to go out and do this again next year?
Oh, request for bid?
Yeah.
So we want them to lock it in for 5 years?
I would, yes.
Yeah.
See if they'll lock it.
I can ask Jeff about that. I mean, I don't mind.
And if he goes up $500 a year, that's okay. I would ask about that, but that would save us from doing an RFP next year. But meanwhile, this proposal is good enough for this year because what we've done is we've done the RFP for 5 years, but either side can get out of the audit at any time.
I don't understand what you're saying. When
we can ask, we have a 5-year commitment with RBT.
Oh, okay.
But we can disengage them at any time.
Well, I think, Nat, you should ask these guys what their 5-year plan is.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go ahead and nominate them and, you know,
sure.
don't
let me rush. I mean, we got a week. We could do this. This doesn't need to get done tonight. I just thought it would be good to.
Yeah, no, we needed to talk about it.
Have a chat about it. I'm happy to go back to Jeff Schaefer, who's the partner, and say, you know, we've got this 5-year thing. What about a 5-year proposal?
Okay. That sounds good. All in favor? Oh, we're not voting.
We're not. I think we're sort of still still in the assembly or in the
Yeah.
information gathering mode.
Okay,
But I think Fred's point was good, and I'm glad he said it, and because that's the way I think I look at it too. It's we might get some value out of this.
Okay.
But why don't I talk some more with Jeff and be prepared to report not in a special meeting, but at our next meeting.
You got it.
That's
That's
going to be okay, Jim, from a timing. I mean, if we don't
Oh,
decide.
yeah. A week is not going to make any difference.
or 2
You have a
weeks.
meeting next Monday, right?
Yeah, but we're not going to go then.
Huh?
That's
That's
a
workshop.
planning workshop or something,
Okay.
long-term planning
Oh, that's
workshop.
yeah, that's right. That's
Our
That
next,
won't make any difference if it's in the first of February, the first week in February, whatever that is.
it's February 8th is our next meeting.
That's no problem.
Okay,
all right. I'll be prepared at that point to carry it along, but thank you for the discussion.
I will draft up a letter for Mark Butler, but I'll bring it, I'll send it out to you guys to make sure it's cool
Okay.
for our retainer back. Because we just sent him $3,000.
Yeah, because we have to have 5 on hold and we only had 2 left. We run a $5,000 retainer.
Okay. So I'm done for the night, except I wanted to talk to Nat about something else since I have you face to face. But we can adjourn the meeting if that's good.
Okay.
Good.
Anybody else, anything?
No?
Okay.
Who's
Thanks,
motion?
Fred.
Okay.
Bye,
Good night,
guys.
everybody.
I'll stay on for a minute, Linda.
Wait, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second,
Second the motion.
all in favor? We're all in favor.
Aye.
Thank you, Jim,
Okay.
for joining in.
I'm trying to get out.
You're trying, okay.
All right, I'm signing off then. You
Got a
don't,
question
Fred.
for you.
you don't need me, right?
Nope.
And
Okay.
Hold on, I
we're going to be finished in 2 minutes, right?
Yes, I just have a quick question for you
Good.
about, do you know anybody that, you said you were in this estate planning thing?
Mhm.
Can you recommend a decent lawyer to do a will? I'm going,
get asked that question a lot, and I will give you an answer. I don't have anybody. That group is very. There's no one